Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. Cole Merritt woke up at 4:45 a.m., 15 minutes before his alarm clock. He always does. 29 years in aerospace engineering had conditioned his body to anticipate the day before it began. The house was quiet, too quiet for a home that was supposed to be full of family. Cole moves skillfully through the kitchen, preparing Juliana's lunch as he has for the past 20 years: yeast bread with turkey, no mayonnaise, extra mustard, and sliced apples on the side. She hadn't thanked him in years, but some habits were hard to change. The coffee maker hummed as Cole leaned over the cooking station and stared out the window of their Pasadena home. The house is modern, spacious, but lifeless. He bought it a decade ago after rising through the ranks at Northrop. The mortgage was almost paid off, but something else had long since been paid off, something he couldn't exactly name yet. "Is there any more coffee?" Juliana stood in the kitchen doorway, already dressed in her tailored pants and silk shirt. At 49, she still had the body and demeanor that had first attracted him decades ago. Her hair was perfectly curled around her shoulders, not a strand untangled, even at this hour. "Freshly cooked," Cole said, pushing a mug toward her. "Lunch is in the fridge." She took the coffee without even looking at him. "I'm having lunch with a client today." Cole nodded, that well-prepared sandwich forgotten. "Okay. Cassidy's staying over again tonight," Juliana added, sliding her cell phone screen as she did so. "Wedding planning. Third time this week." "It's a wedding, Cole. It requires an investment of energy." Juliana's tone was sharp and impatient. "People like you won't understand its importance. If it were today, you'd probably make us go to City Hall and get married." The irony hit him with precision. Their own wedding was modest, and that was all they could afford at the time. Without waiting for his response, footsteps announced the arrival of their daughter. Cassidy whirls into the kitchen, cell phone in hand, already talking to someone. "No, I told you that florists receive a 50% deposit by Friday." "Well, that's not my problem, is it? You figure it out." She hung up the phone and snatched Cole's coffee cup right out of his hand. "Good morning to you too," Cole said. Cassidy ignores him and turns to Juliana. "Mom, we have to finalize the seating chart today. Noah's family is unbelievable with table arrangements. We'll work it out." Juliana soothed her, the warmth in her voice a stark contrast to when she'd spoken to Cole a few minutes earlier. "Your dad is getting ready to go to work, isn't he, you?" "Cole?" Cole looks at his watch. He still had 45 minutes before he needed to leave, but the eviction couldn't have been more obvious. "I'll get my stuff." As he left the kitchen, he heard Cassidy's voice lower into a stagey whisper. "God, he's boring. Just standing there like a statue." Juliana's laughter follows him down the hallway. "He's always been like that, like living with a piece of furniture." Cole pretends not to hear and packs his briefcase. His phone vibrated, a notification temporarily distracting him from their taunting. Hint: Beverly Bridal spends $6,800. He frowned. A bill for a wedding dress he knew nothing about appeared on his credit card. It wasn't the amount of money, or the purchase itself, or even the fact that they had told him about it when they went shopping. It was just another thing that happened in his own life that he had no right to know about. Cole slips his cell phone into his pocket and walks to the door. Neither woman looked up when he announced his departure. "They treat you as if you were invisible," Rhea said, leaning against the doorframe of Cole's office. Her deep eyes looked worried under her sharp bobbed hair. As another senior engineer in the company as senior as Cole, she became his almost default confidant. Cole looks up from his computer. "I overreacted. A $6,000 bill without even telling you about it? That's not called overreacting." Rhea closed the door and sat down. "Cole, how long have we known each other?" 15 years. "And in those 15 years, have I ever said anything you wanted to hear just to make you feel better?" The corner of Cole's mouth twitched. "Not once." "Then believe what I say this time. People will only push you at the edge of a cliff they know you're afraid to jump off." She leaned forward. "You've made yourself too safe, too reliable. They know you will never hold them accountable for their behavior." Cole rubbed his temples. "She was my wife and Cassidy was my daughter. And you're a human being, not an ATM machine with legs." After Rhea leaves, Cole stares at the computer screen, but the tech specs become a blur before his eyes. On impulse, he opened his banking app and started going through months of bills. Wedding dresses are just the tip of the iceberg. In the past year alone, there have been dozens of unexplained withdrawals, records of purchases at restaurants he's never been to. and hotel bills incurred on weekends when Juliana claims to have visited her sister. Some of the spending records were even in Cassidy's name expensive purchases timed to coincide with times when she asked him for money for textbooks or car repair bills. The numbers on the screen swam before his eyes. It's not impulse spending, it's systemic. If this pattern can be traced back further, Cole digs deeper and pulls older bills. 5 years, 10 years. The betrayals seemed to go back a long time, so long that he couldn't see its beginnings. The restaurant was filled with excited talk and laughter. Cassidy picked one of the hippest locations in downtown Los Angeles for the wedding planning dinner, an exclusive venue that needs to be booked months in advance. Unless you know someone. Apparently, Cassidy recognizes. Cole sat at the end of the long table and watched as his daughter became the center of attention. She emerged as a beautiful woman with Juliana's sleek dark hair and confident posture. But where did she learn that cold, chilling light in her eyes, that caustic speech that hurts so much? Everyone should have a seat card in their seat, Cassidy announced, walking around the table with an elegant box. I wrote it myself. Whispers of appreciation rang around her as she handed out the gorgeous cards. Her fiancé, Noah, smiled proudly, a handsome young man with a smile that didn't reach the bottom of his eyes when he looked at Cole. When Cassidy walks up to Cole's spot, she puts down a card and walks away without saying a word. Cole turned over the card. Cole Merritt. It says, with a small line underneath, +1, optional. The conversation around him didn't stop, but he felt a few pairs of eyes quickly sweep over him and then move away. Noah's mother pursed her lips, clearly uncomfortable. Juliana, sitting across from him, took a sip of her red wine, the corners of her mouth curving slightly above the rim of her glass with a hint of imperceptible amusement. Cassidy, Noah's father said in an overly loud voice. I think Mr. Merritt's card may have been mistaken. Cassidy looks over, a perfectly innocent look of confusion on her face. Oh, she jerked the card from Cole's fingers. Look at me being silly. This one is for someone else. But she didn't replace it with another one. The moment stretched awkwardly until Noah's mother changed the subject. The dinner went on, but Cole felt the humiliation as a substantial weight on his chest. He made an excuse to leave as politely as he could. Outside in the cool night air, a hand grabbed his arm. Cole, wait. It's his sister, Lori, who drove all the way from San Diego for the dinner. Her face tightened with anger. Do you see now what I've been seeing? She questioned. You've been living with two shadows in human skin. Lori, not now. It is now. Her grip tightened. I've watched them do this to you for years, and you keep making excuses. That wasn't an accident just now. Your daughter humiliated you in public, and your wife reveled in it. Cole stared at the passing traffic. What do you want me to do? Make a scene? I want you to wake up, Lori said. I want you to stop being everyone's butt. Cole gently moves her hand away. See you at home later. Cole got home before anyone else. The house was dark and silent, an empty shell of expensive furniture and art that had never felt like home to him. He walked straight to his study and turned on his computer. After the dinner, a thought kept haunting him. A few months ago, Cassidy said something when she thought he hadn't heard him. Shit, the iPad keeps syncing up with Dad's old one in the den. You remember to use your own cell phone when you text. He pulled open the bottom drawer of his desk and pulled out the old iPad they'd bought years ago. He stopped using it long ago, but never disconnected it from his home cloud account. It glowed softly and activated. Notifications start pouring in immediately. Messages, photos, calendar reminders, all from Juliana. He clicked on the message first. He went into cardiac arrest. A transcript of a conversation between Juliana and a man named Victor Lennox that stretches over several years. The latest message was sent a couple hours ago. Victor, the dinner party looks intense. Is everything okay? Juliana, it's okay. Cole doesn't know anything. He never knew. Cole scrolls up through the history. Intimate messages, explicit photos, hotel reservations, plans made and executed while he was working late or traveling. Even worse, there's information involving Cassidy. Juliana, Cassidy can cover for me on Friday. Cole thought we were on mother-daughter time. Victor, smart girl. Follow her mother. Juliana follows her in all the important ways. Fingers trembling slightly, Cole opened the photo album. There are hundreds of photos inside, spanning several years. Juliana and Victor together. Intimate moments, vacations he knew nothing about. Then he found a video. Cassidy takes a selfie at what looks like a beach house. She pans the camera and catches Victor in the background, raising his glass to her. "The real MVP," Cassidy said in a laughing voice. Cole sat motionless as reality came crashing down around him. The life he thought he had, the family he'd sacrificed everything for, turned out to be an outright lie. A cruel joke at his expense. With mechanical precision, he began to download everything. Every message, every photo, every piece of evidence of that real life behind him. His face was expressionless. There would be plenty of time to feel the emotions later, he thought as the file was transferred. Now is the time to face the facts. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Eli Tennyson asked, lowering his voice despite the privacy of the small bar they were in. They met on Saturday. Cole nodded and pushed a USB stick across the table. After 3 weeks of undercover research, he finally contacted the childhood friend, now a paralegal at one of the most aggressive divorce law firms in Los Angeles. Everything's in there. Bank statements, credit card records, information, photos. 20 years of lies. Eli put away the flash drive. At 35, he was younger than Cole, but there was a weariness in his eyes that had seen the ugliness of the world. "So what do you really want to do?" "I want to know my options." Cole took a sip of his whiskey. "Financial fraud, identity theft. She opened the account in my name. And an affair. California is a no-fault divorce state. I'm not talking about legal faults. I'm talking about the truth." Cole's voice stayed steady. "For 20 years, I lived a lie without knowing it. I want to know exactly what happened before I decide what to do about it." Eli sized him up. "You've changed." The Cole I know would confront them immediately. That Cole is a fool and trusts people too easily. After meeting Eli, Cole drove to a 24-hour gym he had just joined a week earlier. At 10 p.m., the gym was nearly empty. He changed and headed to the strength area for a rigorous set of exercises that left his muscles burning. Physical pain has a way of clarifying thoughts. It took up space where emotional pain could overwhelm him at any moment. A muscular man in his 60s nodded approvingly as Cole completed his final set. "Nice pose." "No, just started." "Divorce or midlife crisis?" The man grinned as he saw Cole's surprised expression. "I've been a coach for 30 years. I recognize the signs." "Is it that obvious?" "Only an insider can see it." "I'm Derek." He held out his hand. Cole shook. "Cole." "Well, Cole, whatever you're going through, this iron doesn't lie. It carries the same weight for everyone." For the first time in weeks, Cole felt something like peace. "This is exactly what I need right now. Something that doesn't lie." The next morning, Cole stopped by a drugstore on his way to work. He bought a DNA testing kit and paid cash. That night, he found one of Cassidy's combs in the guest bathroom and carefully extracted a few strands of hair with roots, sealing them in a testing envelope. He had begun to suspect the truth. Now he needed confirmation. Brunch was Juliana's idea. She called it a pre-wedding celebration and invited family and close friends. The venue was at their home, catered by the same fine dining company that catered the wedding reception. Cole made a point of accepting the invitation and then simply didn't show up. Instead, he spent the entire morning with Rhea helping her move furniture into her son's new apartment. Physical work, honest labor, something concrete and real. "Your cell phone keeps ringing," Rhea said during their break, as the two sat on the steps sipping cold drinks. "Cole, check your cell phone." 6 missed calls from Cassidy. 3 from Juliana. A dozen increasingly angry text messages. He slid through it. Cell phone rings again. "It's Cassidy." "Hello." He picked up calmly. "Where the fuck are you?" Her voice was shrill with anger. "Everyone's here. Mom is humiliated. Noah's parents keep asking." "I hope you guys are having fun," Cole replied. "I paid for the champagne." He hung up and turned off his cell phone. Rhea raised an eyebrow. What was that about? Just setting some boundaries. That evening, Cole sat alone at a downtown wine bar, sipping a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon. At that moment, a woman stumbled and bumped into his table. "Whoa, sorry," she said as she steadied herself, her glass sloshing. "These heels are a torture device." "That's okay," Cole replied, noting her slightly misty eyes and flushed cheeks. She narrowed her eyes at him. "Wait, I know you. Merritt, right? Cassidy's dad." "Cole, sit up a little straighter." "You are Arden Nash, wedding planner." She pointed to the empty chair across from him. "Mind if I sit down?" "Busy all day with that brunch with your daughter." "It's the one you didn't go to." Against her better judgment, Cole nodded. Arden dropped into his chair as if relieved. A very tiring day. He asked. You have no idea. That daughter of yours has some pretty unique tastes. She took a long drink. But I guess she takes after her mom. I've been working with Juliana for many years. Your wife and that companion said you were too nice to talk to. Surely they wouldn't object. It was smart of him to keep this under wraps for so long. There's not as much drama and conflict, and it's good to do some of my work. She froze in mid-sentence, her eyes widening as she realized what she'd said. I mean, Cole smiled slightly. It's okay, Arden. Have another drink. You look like you need it. Her face was filled with guilt. Mr. Merritt, I'm really sorry. I thought you knew. They talk about it so openly when you're not around. I just take it for granted. Tell me more, Cole said, signaling the bartender for another drink. 2 hours later, as Arden stumbles into a YouTuber, Cole learns far more than he ever wanted to know about his wife's open and secret affair. The weekend trips, the business meetings Victor would join, how Cassidy was gradually drawn into the circle, at first an unintentional cover, then an active accomplice. The worst part, Arden said vaguely, is that they tell it as a joke, like it's some kind of heavenly delight. I've planned a lot of weddings, Mr. Merritt, and I've seen a lot of messed up families, but the kind of way they talk about you. She didn't finish. Cole came home feeling remarkably relieved. The trap has set itself as a bait. Exactly 10 days after Cole sent the DNA sample, the expedited mailer with the results arrived. He took it into his study, closed the door, and then carefully unwrapped it. The results are clinical and impersonal. A series of genetic markers and percentages that ultimately boil down to one inescapable conclusion. Cassidy Merritt is not his biological daughter. He stared at the piece of paper, waiting for the pain to hit him. But it didn't. Maybe deep down he already knew. Perhaps his tolerance for betrayal has reached its limit. Or maybe the girl he'd raised for 26 years would always be his daughter, regardless of blood. But she has chosen her side. And that side not his. He added this result to his growing file of evidence and locked it in a desk drawer. That night, he and Rhea had dinner, a regular habit they had formed over the past few weeks. You're quieter than usual, she said as they both shared a plate of pasta. What happened? I got the DNA results. Rhea's fork stopped in midair. The result. She's not my own. She put down her fork and reached across the table to cover his hand. I'm sorry, Cole. No need. It just confirms what I already knew. So what now? When are you going to show down with them? Cole takes a sip of water. You don't light a match until the room is drenched in gasoline. Rhea scrutinized him. That doesn't sound like the Cole Merritt I know. The Cole Merritt you know is an illusion. A fictional character made up for convenience by a man who couldn't face the truth. He looked her straight in the eye. I've had enough of fiction. Be careful, she warned. The thing about revenge is that it tends to burn those who seek it themselves. It's not revenge, Cole corrected her. It's justice. Over the next few weeks, Cole maintains an outward calm that unnerves Juliana and Cassidy. He came home on time. He handles the family business and even gets involved in wedding topics when asked directly. But he's making preparations. With Eli's help, he began moving assets into accounts that only he could control. He found an apartment and paid 6 months' rent in advance. He arranged for covert surveillance of Juliana and Victor to establish a timeline of their meetings and activities. And he made an appointment with one of the most aggressive divorce lawyers in Los Angeles who specializes in cases involving financial fraud and infidelity. We need to talk about the wedding. One night, Juliana blocked Cole in the kitchen. Her tone was businesslike, as if she were addressing a subordinate. Talk about what? Cole continues to make his sandwich without looking up. I think it would be best if you didn't attend. The words stopped him in his tracks. You want me to miss our daughter's wedding? It's not a matter of what I want. Juliana crosses her arms. Cassidy was stressed out because of the seating arrangements. Your presence will complicate things because I'll look out of place? Her voice hardened. Noah's family is very traditional. They expect some sort of family cohesion. And I've ruined this perfect family picture. Cole nods slowly. What did Cassidy say about this? She agrees with me. As if in response, Cassidy walked into the kitchen. Agree to what? Agree that your father shouldn't be at the wedding. Cassidy doesn't even bother pretending to be contradictory. That makes sense, Dad. You'll just sit there and look awkward. Plus, the venue charges per person, which is expensive. Cole scrutinizes his daughter's face. The face he'd loved unconditionally for 26 years, no matter whose genes she carried. The coldness in her eyes was foreign to him. Had it been there all along, but he just refused to see it? I understand, he said at last, if that's what you both want. Relief flickered across their faces, quickly replaced by smugness. We can tell people you're sick or traveling. Juliana continued, already planning a cover story. No excuses, Cole replied. Just tell them I wasn't invited. Later that week, Cole and Lori had lunch together. His sister is his only remaining blood relative, and the only one who has consistently seen through Juliana's disguise over the years. They won't let me go to the wedding. After ordering, he told her. Lori's face clouded with anger. Those manipulative, retained here in English to express their strong sentiments. Don't, Cole interrupted her. This is actually just right. How is being left out of your own daughter's wedding just right? Cole, lean forward. Because now, I can plan my entrance my way. He lowered his voice. I hired a videographer for the reception. He's working on a special montage video that will be shown during the dinner. A glimmer of realization flashed in Lori's eyes. Cole, what the hell are you going to do? Let them decorate the altar with lies, he replied, and I will bring the truth to the party. Cassidy on her wedding day, the Biltmore Hotel glowed with luxury. Soaring floral decor overlooks guests pouring into the grand ballroom. A string quartet plays softly in the corner. Every detail was flawless, just as Cassidy had requested. Cole straightens his tie as he waits outside the main entrance. He chose a classic black suit, simple and understated, but with devastating perfection. A small, heavy USB flash drive was in his pocket. Guests walked by one, and many of them were taken aback when they saw him and did a double take to confirm it. Some nodded awkwardly. Some people pretended not to see him. Cole gave a calm smile to every reaction. Mr. Merritt? A nervous-looking young man in a staff uniform approached him. I don't see your name on the guest list. That's because I'm not a guest, Cole replied. I'm the father of the bride. The young man's eyes widened. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Come in, come in. The ceremony had already begun when Cole snuck into the back of the room. He stood against the wall, observing the show before him. Cassidy looks beautiful in her wedding dress, the one he paid for but was never told about. Noah looked handsome and nervous in front of the altar. Juliana sat in the front row, wearing an elegant navy blue dress. She didn't turn around, but the sudden stiffness in her shoulders told Cole she knew he was coming. Oaths were exchanged. The ring is worn on the finger. Promises are made. Cole knows from first-hand experience how easily these promises can be broken. Cassidy's eyes met his briefly as the newcomer exited the stage. Shock flickered across her face, followed by anger. Cole nodded slightly, his expression giving nothing away. The reception began with a cocktail reception in an adjoining room. Cole was alone, sipping a glass of scotch and observing the social dynamics of the scene. Juliana moved through the crowd like a seasoned manipulator, accepting congratulations and playing the role of proud mother of the bride. When it came time for dinner, Cole found his place at a small table near the back, seated with distant relatives and co-workers who looked uncomfortable with his presence. But first he went to the main table, where the family seats were prominently displayed, and he picked up the seat card that belonged to him, which read Cole Merritt, +1, optional. He placed the card prominently on an empty seat at the main table before returning to his isolated corner. During the toast, Noah's father stands up and raises his glass. To the bride and groom and their families. He nodded in the direction of Cole's table. Special shout out to Cole. He looks like the real top dog. I wish you many happy years ahead. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Juliana rises quickly and raises her glass as well, ready to make her own toast. Thank you all for coming out to celebrate Cassidy and Noah, she spoke, her voice sweetly cloying with practiced charm. As a mother, there is nothing more satisfying than seeing your child find happiness and be with someone who truly cherishes her. Her eyes flicked to Cole. I hope you don't mind standing, Cole. You were never very good at being there. An awkward, sporadic laugh rang through the room. Cole just smiles and raises his own glass in response. The trap is set. All that's left is to start it. The reception culminated. The dinner plates have been removed and the cake is being prepared to be cut. Cole and DJ looked at each other and nodded gently. Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ announced, before we cut the cake, We have a special video montage prepared by the father of the bride. Let's dim the lights and enjoy this dedication. The large screen at the front of the room flickered and lit up. The beginning is innocuous enough. Cassidy's baby pictures, family vacations, school activities. Cole saw Juliana's expression relax slightly at the sight of this traditional opening. Then the tone changed. A text message appeared on the screen. Asterisk Juliana, he's away this weekend. See you at the old place. Immediately followed by another article. Asterisk Victor, can't wait. Does he have any doubts? Asterisk Juliana, Cole? Please. He was too busy raising a family to notice. The sound of a backwards intake of breath echoed through the room. Cassidy jolts to her feet, her face pale. Turn it off. But the video relentlessly continues to play. Bank statements showing withdrawals and hotel purchases. Juliana and Victor together at a restaurant, on vacation, and in an intimate setting. Screenshots of conversations spanning several years. Then the DNA test results appeared, displayed in cold black and white. The crowd erupted in buzzing chatter as the implications became clear. The last slide appeared. Asterisk you lie. You betrayed. You steal. But today, I give you the gift of honesty. Cole Merritt, not your father. The screen went dark. For a moment, the room was dead silent. Then chaos erupted. Noah turns to Cassidy, shock and betrayal written all over his face. What the fuck is going on? You knew about your mom. Cassidy looks back and forth between Noah and her mother in a panic. I can explain. Noah's father stood up, his face red with anger. Who the fuck is Victor Lennox? As if summoned by the name, a tall, elegant man in his 50s stood up from a table near the front. It was Victor himself who was invited as a family friend. Noah rushes across the table and his fist hits Victor in the jaw with a sickening muffled thud. The security guard rushed forward. The women screamed. A perfect wedding instantly disintegrates into a mess. Throughout, Cole had sat on the edge of his seat and watched as that truth, which he'd suffered alone for months, finally became a reality for everyone else as well. Noah's family left in a rage, taking nearly half the guests with them. The rest of the group gathered in shocked cliques and whispered in horror. Arden, the wedding planner, sits in the corner, weeping openly with a napkin. Cassidy stands in the center of the room, mascara staining her cheeks, and screams at Juliana. You told me he'd never find out. You promised me. Keep your voice down. Juliana hissed, grabbing her daughter's arm. We can salvage this. Redeem? Redemption? Cassidy's voice became hysterical. My wedding is ruined. Noah won't even look at me. His family thinks I'm trash. Cole, head for the exit. His mission is accomplished. He felt no joy, no triumph. Only a quiet certainty that justice had been done. Before he could reach the door, Juliana stopped him, her face contorted with fury. You sad, pathetic, unlikable man. You think that changes anything? You think anyone would respect what you just did? Cole looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. The beautiful face that had once seemed so full of love now seemed hollow, like the face of a stranger. It's not for them, he said calmly. It's for me. You'll regret this, she spat. I promise you I will. A smile swept across Cole's lips. I've already regretted it. That's why I ended it all. He walked past her and stepped into the cool evening breeze. Behind them, the ruins of a wedding. Ahead, there is uncertainty, but at least it will be built on truth. The next morning, Juliana was served with divorce papers at the hotel where she spent the night. The document details financial fraud, identity theft, and years of well-documented infidelity. A court order froze their joint accounts pending an investigation. Meanwhile, Cole's attorney filed an amendment to his will removing Cassidy from the list of beneficiaries. The trust fund he had set up for her future children still existed, but with conditions attached that prevented her from having direct access to the money. That same day, Cole moved into his new apartment with the help of Lori. The space is small, but clean and tidy with large windows to let in natural light. There's only what he needs in there. No redundancy, no pretense. Are you okay? Lori asked as they unpacked the last box. Better than the last couple years. Cole answered, and he meant it. His cell phone has been ringing all day with calls and texts from Cassidy. He eventually put his phone on silent and didn't read a single entry. Whatever she wanted to say, it was too late. At noon, Rhea arrived with takeout. I thought you might need lunch, she said, placing the bag on his brand new kitchen counter. and company. Thanks. Cole retrieves plates from a half-open box. Word travels fast. Like wildfire. Victor Lennox's wife went to your house this morning. Apparently, she didn't know that before either. Cole shook his head. Collateral damage. That part I'm not proud of. She deserves to know the truth as much as you do, Rhea noted. As does everyone. Over the next few days, Cole establishes a new routine. He went to work. He works out at the new gym. He has dinner with Rhea twice a week. He and his attorney discussed divorce proceedings. He ignored the increasingly desperate messages from Juliana and Cassidy. Their problems, they no longer needed him to solve them. One night, his doorbell rang unexpectedly. Cole opens the door to find Cassidy standing there, her face haggard and pale. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice small. Cole scrutinized her for a long time. "Can't." Her eyes widened. "Dad, please, I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain, Cassidy." His voice stayed calm. "For years, you've been making your choices. Me too. She manipulated me," Cassidy insisted, tears welling up in her eyes. "Mom made me think." "Stop." Cole lifted his hand. "You're an adult. You know what you're doing. Every time you covered for her, every time you laughed at me, every time you laughed at me behind my back while asking me for money." A tear slid down her cheek. "What about Noah? His family doesn't even talk to me anymore. The wedding was annulled. That's between you and Noah. So where am I supposed to go? Mom's a mess, the house. That house isn't my business anymore." Cole finished for her. "And neither are you. Bye, Cassidy." He closed the door gently, but firmly, and then leaned against it, listening to her sobbing on the other side. Eventually, her footsteps were far away along the corridor. Cole returns to his armchair and picks up his book. The pain was there, deep and real, but it no longer controlled him. Juliana tries to play the victim in public, giving tearful interviews about how her mentally unstable husband humiliated her family. But that video has gone viral within the wedding industry. Too many people have seen the evidence. Her social status, built on carefully maintained lies, crumbles under the weight of the truth. 1 year later, Cole is standing at a podium in a convention center ballroom, giving a keynote address for an aerospace engineering conference. His presentation on innovative materials for spacecraft drew a packed audience. As he concluded his technical presentation, he allowed himself a brief personal reflection. "Engineering teaches us to respect structural integrity," he told the audience. "And a building with a compromised foundation, no matter how ornate it looks, will eventually collapse. So is life." He paused for a moment, scanning the crowd. In the third row, Rhea watched him with a quiet, proud gaze. "Some things break silently," Cole continues. "Over years, not moments. But when you rebuild, you use steel, not forgiveness. You want to build something that will last, because it's honest, even if it's simpler than what came before." Applause filled the room as he left the microphone. Colleagues flocked to shake his hand and discuss his report. Cole interacts with each of them, focused and committed in a way he never could while living a lie. Later, as he and Rhea walk to dinner, they pass a wedding venue where a young couple is taking wedding photos on the steps. The bride threw back her head and laughed in that pure, joyous way, while the groom looked at her with unreservedly adoring eyes. Cole stops briefly and looks at them, not with envy or bitterness, but with a knowing clarity, the clarity of someone who understands both the promise and the danger of such moments. "Happy?" Rhea asked, following his gaze. "Satisfaction," Cole replied, "is better that way." He smiled slightly, not for what he had lost, but for what he had found. Then he turned around and continued on his way, marching firmly into a future that was his own. After a few more months, fall in Los Angeles brings a rare cooler day. Cole's life had settled into a steady, quiet routine. His apartment may be small, but every item is handpicked by him, reflecting his own tastes rather than trying to conform to the expectations of others. The friendship with Rhea has also deepened, from being supportive of each other to being a relaxed and regular companion. Together, they explore the city's bistros, sometimes go hiking on the weekends, and share a similar passion for work and a similar pragmatic approach to life. One afternoon, Cole left the office later than usual for an impromptu project meeting. He turned into one of his regular supermarkets to buy some stuff for dinner at home. Just as he was pushing his shopping cart and turning toward the frozen food section, a familiar figure stopped him in his tracks. "It's Juliana." But not the Juliana he remembered. She was wearing a slightly cheap supermarket employee uniform, her hair pulled back casually behind her head, a few strands of broken hair falling across her forehead, and her face wore a look of exhaustion and anxiety that he had never seen before. She was struggling to stuff a box of frozen pizzas into the freezer, her movements a little awkward and completely lacking her usual grace and ease. She seemed to sense the stares as well and looked up, her eyes meeting Cole's. After a moment of shock, her face became complex with shame, resentment, and a hint of imperceptible begging. She subconsciously tried to straighten her uniform, but ultimately just dropped her hand in vain. Cole didn't hold back or come forward. He just stood there calmly, pushing his shopping cart. He felt neither gloating nor the slightest bit of pity. It's just a fact, a natural consequence of choice. Juliana took the lead and averted her gaze, lowering her head and pretending to be busy organizing the merchandise in the freezer. Cole silently pushed his cart past her without saying a word. There was a silent awkwardness in the air, more suffocating than any heated argument. He could feel her stiffening her stance behind him, but he didn't turn around. Walking down that aisle, he didn't even pick up his pace. She was once the center of his life. Now, just a blurry shadow in the background. A few days later, he spoke to Lori on the phone. "Guess who I saw yesterday?" Lori's voice took on an incredulous tone. "Cassidy. Worked as a waitress in a cafe. It looks bad." "Uh-huh." Cole's response was tepid. "She saw me and tried to come over to talk to me, but I made excuses to avoid it." Lori paused. "Cole, I know what you've decided, but I still have to tell you that she looks really down. She said she tried to contact you many times." "I know." Cole's voice didn't ripple. "My number hasn't changed, but my boundaries have. She chose a path and she has to walk it herself." "Lori." "I understand." Lori sighed. It's still kind of hard to watch." "It's hard because we used to love that vision," Cole said. "But the vision broke, Lori. We can't keep grieving for something that doesn't exist." As for Victor Lennox, Eli mentioned it in passing during a run-in. His wife, unsurprisingly, filed for divorce and left Victor hemorrhaging money in the division of property because of his huge financial outlays during the marriage, most of which were spent on Juliana. Not only that, but his reputation in the industry was in tatters, as several important clients terminated their cooperation. And the image of a successful man that he had worked so hard to build up for so many years completely collapsed. People talk about him privately with a tone of contempt and derision. Karma, in a slow and precise way, came to everyone involved in that scam. Another year has passed. Cole was responsible for the successful launch of a major program at Northrop that received widespread industry acclaim. He stood in the control center, looking at the images of the distant stars coming back on the screen, and felt within himself a sense of sheer, unadulterated satisfaction born of creation and realization. This is very different from the kind of pressure that used to be put on families to keep up appearances. In the evening, he and Rhea celebrate at a restaurant overlooking the city at night. "Congratulations, Cole." Rhea raised her glass. "You look really into it." "Because I'm only invested in things that are worth it now." Cole smiled and clinked his glass with her, his eyes clear and determined. "To structural integrity." Rhea smiled, understanding shining in her eyes. "To structural integrity." They chatted about work, future plans, and light, fun topics. The lights of the city in the distance were like scattered diamonds, reflecting their calm and contented faces. Cole knows that the scars of the past will never fully disappear, but they no longer hurt. They became a part of him, reminding him of the preciousness of truth and the price that must be paid for betrayal. He no longer had to think about Juliana struggling in front of the freezer at the supermarket, or Cassidy's downtrodden face serving plates at the cafe. Those images were no longer relevant to him. With his own hands, he tore down that magnificent perilous building built on a lie. And then, on a solid foundation, he built himself a smaller, but immensely stronger, haven. Here, there is only real presence, only people and things of his own choosing. That's enough. It was far better for him than any false perfection in the world. As the night wore on, the hustle and bustle of the city seemed to quiet down, leaving behind only the dotted lights in the distance, and the hard-won, solid peace within him. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.